Hello, Rockville Art League. My name is Lisa Sieg, and I'm the juried show chair and exhibits coordinator for the Rockville Art League. I'm delighted to be here today with Patrick Sieg, Rockville Art League president, and our judge for the RAL Juried Members Winter Show, Gonzalo Ruiz Navarro, who will discuss his choices for the award-winning pieces. A few brief remarks about the show in general before we get started. There were over 200 entries, well over 200 entries submitted for this show, which was juried to include 133 pieces in the 6 categories of mediums that RAL accepts for our shows. This large multimedia media show, as mentioned, is 133 pieces. It's displayed in the 6 rooms of the gallery at Glenview Mansion. It's in a variety of styles and mediums. Each piece has its own unique artistry. Thank you for everyone who came out on Sunday for the opening. There were it was totaled as 176 people in attendance or so. um, and thank you, Gonzalo, for your remarks about the show and taking time to speak with the artists about their individual work. If you haven't seen the show yet, you're in for a real treat. If you've already seen it, you're going to want to come back and bring a friend or two. There's plenty of parking. The gallery is open Mondays through Fridays, weekdays only, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. It is uncrowded and quiet, and you can really focus on the art. There's an elevator to all levels of the gallery and plenty of parking, as I mentioned. Please do check the Glenview Mansion website or call them before coming out for any special closures. The phone numbers are on the back of the show cards. Art is best viewed in person, but there is a virtual show available on the RockvilleArtLeague.org website. It's listed under the word exhibits as the RAL Jury Members Winter Show, which is a white button. Please take a few minutes to have a look at it. Here you'll see the show cards, a brief description of the show, including any gallery closures as we know them, the address of Glenview, their phone numbers, followed by the judge's remarks about the show. Then scroll down to see the work in the show. If you click on a piece, you'll find details about it, dimensions, medium, price, a way to inquire or even purchase, and sometimes there's a brief description about the piece. If the piece has been awarded a prize or has sold, it is marked here. Thank you, Gonzalo, for creating such a beautiful show for the Rockville Art League. And now to Patrick.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you for all of your effort in this beautiful show, your artistry in placing the work and arranging for it. It just shows through. It's a real talent, and we appreciate it. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Gonzalo Ruiz Navarro, who is our judge. He is a master artist. He's representational in nature. He is based here in the DC area. He has studied all over the world and holds a master's in fine arts from the University of Valencia. His work is rooted in traditional techniques, and he finds great inspiration from the Spanish Impressionist Joaquim Sorolla. He is collected throughout the world. He's been featured in the New York Times and elsewhere. He was recently had a stint in Pakistan where his wife was working for the National Global Economics Organization. I probably have that wrong, but he was there with his wife and family and became quite a celebrity in Pakistan with his art. He's also a master teacher. I personally have had the privilege of seeing him in action teaching classes at the Yellow Barn Studio. He encourages his students to develop their own artistic voice, and he motivates us to be the very best artists we can possibly be. Thank you again, Gonzalo. You are a thoughtful and gracious person, and we so much appreciate your help with the Rockville Art League. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. We have a PowerPoint presentation with the winning work, and then I will turn it over to our judge, Gonzalo. So let me go ahead and share. Hopefully everybody can see it. And I'm going to start the slideshow. Gonzalo, you'll just let me know when you want me to advance the slides.
Yes, well, thank you very much for your introduction, Pat and Patrick and Lisa. Um, as I mentioned in the opening ceremony, it's an honor to be the judge of this show. And I had a few remarks there in general about the show. I just want to say briefly here that it's been a pleasure to see not only the works, but this community of artists that coming together with all kind of approaches and styles that makes us as a community of artists much richer than individuals. And that takes me to the point of the awards that you're going to see here today and the honorable mentions. It's just a representation of what it's the whole show. I think it's much better to see it in person, and you will see the variety of things and the quality of the work better from live. Okay, and one of the things that I try to highlight here, and you will see, is that every work is different, and it not everything goes in the same direction, and some of them they stand out for some qualities and some for other things. So I think that that's one of the things that we have always to recognize, right? That we are different, we are unique, and we can contribute to the art scene in different ways. Okay, so we can get started if you want with the first category that we have here.
Let's see if I can make it advance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, first category, oils and acrylics.
Yeah, we go first with the oils and acrylics, and we're going to start with the honorable mentions. So this category, it's the one that was most popular, so the most entries we had here. And it has, I mean, it could have more, even more honorable mentions, but I tried to keep it just to 4 honorable mentions. We are going to start with this one. This one is one of those pieces that when I saw it in photograph, I thought it was good, but not as good as when I saw it in person. Okay, it's a very simple still life with only 3 elements, almost 3 elements. It's almost monochrome, working mainly with a wide range of warm grays and just a few touches of color. And what stood out for me was that with this simplicity, the artist brings together many of the essential qualities of a strong painting. It has a clear hierarchy of values, beautiful handling of edges. That's something that you don't see often, and I think it's something very precious in art, how you handle the edges. And some are very soft, some are very crisp, some are lost with the background, and it has a very subtle but effective contrast of light and dark. So, well, yeah, I no, I didn't finish. So, no, I just one of the things that you don't appreciate here is the rich texture that it has. Okay, so the surface quality doesn't come through in a photograph, but when you see it in person, you see how the brush strokes and the paint is applied, and I think that makes a very masterful painting. Yes, thank you. Let's go to the next one. Another honorable mention, Lamborghini. as you see, we are going to start seeing different approaches, no? From the first one that was more painterly to this one that is a highly realistic rendering of a car, and it showcased excellent technical skills in the sense that this artist handles surfaces, reflections, and textures masterfully. Especially, you could say that with the reds. If you look at the reds, it has subtle shifts that define light, shade, and reflections. The same could be almost said about the blacks and grays, and it altogether becomes a very appealing image full of detail, texture, and nuanced color. And that's why I chose it as an honorable mention. Let's go to the next one. Another honorable mention, the Old Arnold Farm by Pamela Betts. And what immediately drew me to this painting was the artist mastery of oil painting. Seeing it in person, you appreciate the texture and the confident brushwork and the richness of the color. The composition is a bit unusual because the house that takes most part of your attention, it's almost in the center with elements surrounding it and only a narrow space at the top for the sky. So it's a composition that could feel awkward, but somehow the artist made it look so beautiful, and it has a very nice sense of light and atmosphere. So that's some of the qualities that I really appreciate about this work. The next one, it's titled Shelter, and also an honorable mention. And I think it was the first thing I thought about this one is a very engaging composition. It creates like a triangular relationship between the figures, like the woman looking at the dog, the dog looking back at her, her arm or her hand resting on the second dog who looks off the frame. So there is a lot of movement. Your eyes keep moving from one character to the next, and that gives a piece a very dynamic rhythm. I think the dog's faces, and especially their eyes, are wonderfully expressive, and the handling of the fur, the shine, the volume, the softness is very beautifully done. Thank you. Let's go to the next one. So this is the third prize of this category. This is a very simple composition, but extremely well resolved. We have a portrait of a boy. The boy's expression, looking down with a gentle smile, is captured with great sensitivity. What impressed me most was the control of the light. There is a rim of light on the edge of the face that immediately draws you in. And the artist manages the values with a high level of skill. For example, the shadow areas have reflected light, but they remain clearly in shadow, which helps the main light to really stand out. And the transitions from light to shadow, especially you can see on the nose, are beautifully handled. So all in all, I think it's a lovely piece. Let's go to the second prize. This piece called the Yellow Chair. This interior the interior scene is full of elements, but somehow they are organized in a remarkable clarity. It reminds me of the Navi painters like Vuillard or Bonnard, artists who love interiors rich with color, pattern, and atmosphere. So although it's not strictly realistic, the space feels real and inviting. This reminds me, if you saw my presentation at the Rockville Art League on how to create depth and perspective, this piece is a great example of creating depth basically by overlapping elements. There is a lot of elements that they overlap, and that creates a sense of space. In this case, there is not kind of a clear gradation of values and color. It's just using the overlapping as a sense of space, and then it gives more room for expressing the patterns, the colors, the lines themselves. Okay. um, one thing that I didn't notice at the beginning was the dog, the sitting on the chair. I saw all the elements and I thought this is chair, but it was a very funny thing to find out on a second look. Let's go now to the next one. It's the first prize. This is a very unusual and intriguing piece. And it looks, I have to say, it looks much stronger in person because the photograph can capture the texture and luminosity of the colors. It's a large piece, and the artist has put incredible care into the sun faces. Each one is detailed, expressive, and full of character. And in the composition, it's even more interested with the contrast between those vibrant and playful elements and the rigid, repetitive background fence that, I don't know, it makes it very, very unique. At first glance, it's not a composition I will expect to work, but somehow absolutely does. So I think when something goes a bit beyond what it's unusual or like a but grabs your attention somehow with the texture, the colors, and the characters represented here, I think is worth to be awarded. So I think that's all about this category. Now we are gonna go to the next one, is the watercolors category. It was a very nice represented also category, this one, with many entries. And we are going to start with this honorable mention, the Portal of the Seven Suns. This watercolor is representational, but almost abstract in its simplicity. It suggests architectural forms and repeating patterns, but it remains very fluid. What really stands out is the beautiful handling of transparency and the rhythm created by the repetition of shapes, but with variety. So the artist uses variations in texture and intensity to keep these patterns alive, and the sense of light is also present here, and it looks wonderful. It's a piece that feels very airy, luminous, and it's very, very gracefully executed. The next one is an honorable mention. It's called February Roses. And this is a very vibrant and dynamic floral watercolor. There's a strong sense of movement throughout the piece. What I appreciate especially is the contrast between the foreground and the background. The background is softer, most atmospheric, and almost dreamy, with leaves or petals that seem to float in the air. And that dreamy softness enhances the depth of the painting and makes the crisp, well-defined flowers in the foreground really stand out. And overall, I think it's a very engaging composition. The next one is another honorable mention. Arrival of Spring, Angela Lacy. This is a lovely example of a traditional impressionistic watercolor, handled in loose, as I said, impressionistic style. And it depicts an urban scene with bridge, water, a boat, people, bicycles, full of life and energy. And the technique is very effective, especially in the water and the combination of natural elements and the trees, the branches, the people, with the presence of the people in the scenes gives a lively feeling to the painting. Very successful impressionistic watercolor. Then let's go to the prizes, the awards. The third prize goes for this fresh, beautifully composed watercolor. We have a large peony painted with great subtlety. Petals contain many delicate variations of gray, yellow, red, purple, and the colors remain very harmonious and soft. and the composition becomes even more dynamic with the small butterfly placed in one of the corners. That adds a lot of movement and balance. So the whole piece feels very natural, fluid, and full of life. It's very refined. At the same time, it's very fresh. Let's go to the second prize. This is one of these pieces that I mentioned before in other cases, that it looks much better in person than in the photograph. I think the photograph doesn't capture the subtlety of the nuances of colors. It's a simple composition, almost geometrical, with a bridge, with some trees. But capture my attention is the use of color. Okay, so it's mostly warm colors, reds, browns, yellows, but with subtle variations. And there is a bit of contrast with a few cool colors with purples and blues in the right place. It's a very wise simplification of the scene, with some areas intentionally left less finished and like unfinished. So that gives the painting like a freshness, combined with the sophisticated color control, and makes the piece very impressive to me. And the first prize goes to this beautiful watercolor, Deflection by Karen Norman. Is a very clever still life. At first glance, it appears to be like a traditional setup of objects arranged, but you immediately see the lamp, with a strong sense of light, shadow, transparency, and then you see the, I don't know how to say, humorous twist, all the things with the oil pointing at the lamp, so it makes it somehow the seriousness of the thing make it like not so serious, a bit fun, and it's a playful idea that becomes the organizing principle of the painting, and everything, the shapes, the lines, the shadows, the technical execution, it's superb. Okay, so the metal surfaces, the glass, the texture, the color transitions from light and shadow. Somehow I don't know, in the photograph you don't see this. The photograph, it lacks the quality of the real painting, that is quite large also. So it's a beautiful painting, well conceived and full of character. So this is all about the watercolor categories. And then let's go to the following one: pastels, drawings, and prints. Um, we're going to start with an honorable mention. So this is a woodcut print. It's very large and much more powerful in person than in a small photograph. It's just a striking black and white composition with an abundance of texture, direction, movement, rhythm. Um, there are symbolic elements integrated throughout, and the artist handles the balance between positive and negative space with great intention of these elements. I think, as Lisa mentioned in the website, you can you can read some comments of some paintings, and I think this one has some explanation that I think it enhances the meaning of the painting. So I encourage you to look at that too. So overall, the simplicity of pure black and white, and the rhythm becomes the strength of this piece. The following one, honorable mention for this Pink and Pine title painting, is a pastel. It's a small, soft pastel on sandy paper, and it has an immediate quiet beauty. I think the strongest point is its simplicity. As you've seen in all the works that we've done, some are very complex, very ambitious with many elements, and some of them they stand out because of their simplicity. There are just a few essential elements like a tree, a hint of a cloud that you almost don't see in the photograph, but you see it when you see it in live. Distant foliage. It has a lot of atmospheric perspective in just a few elements. The transition in the sky from the cool blue purples at the top and then going down the warm tones, the warm tones are especially well done. So the whole piece conveys calmness, stillness, sense of open space. It's very simple, but very effectively executed. And that what I said, it's from the previous piece could be applied to this one, is from the same artist. This is the third prize, the Night Light. And this shares many of the qualities of the previous piece: restraint, simplicity, and a deep sensitivity to subtle transitions. Here, the composition is even more minimal than the previous one, just the moon, a lamppost, and the glow on the street, okay? And you see that the artist is not afraid of empty space. Instead, he uses that openness intentionally, letting the slight gradation in the sky covering the atmosphere. So you see the subtle gradation of the sky from top to bottom, right to left. It's very, very simple, but very intentional, it seems to me. And then the area under the lamppost where just a few leaves catch the light, beautifully done, shows where the artist chooses to concentrate detail. So these two pieces are wonderful reminders that simplicity, when handled with confidence, can be incredibly expressive. Then let's go to the second prize, and we've seen a similar piece by this artist. It's a woodcut print, and it's almost the kind of the same series, I would say. But this one, it feels even stronger than the previous one. It also incorporates symbolic elements from the Maya culture, and it's very visually rich, but very well organized. So despite there are many small components, there is no sense of competition between them. So there is a hierarchy between shapes, and everything flows around the central shape, and the fine lines create the texture, the motion, and the solid black negative space provides contrast, and and structure. So the result is very intriguing, dynamic, and very cohesive piece. I also recommend to read the comments about this piece in the website. And then let's go to the first prize. So season time tested color pencil by Anita Draper. So this is a powerful and expressive portrait. It focuses on the features that, I guess, on my interpretation, that the time leaves on the human face, the wrinkles, the strong forms that tell a story a bit about this person. Okay, so normally a portrait will try to idealize a bit the figure, but rather than that, here the artist, I think, is embracing the marks of the age, inviting us to reflect on identity, experience, and the passage of time, rather than what we would consider beauty. So, and technically, the work is excellent. Is the rendering of skin tones, the hair, the beard, every detail of the face shows very good skill with the color pencil. So the portrait feels honest and profoundly human, I would say. Beautifully executed and thoughtful piece. So congratulations to all these awards in the drawing category. And now let's go to the mixed media, collage, and experimental. So when we have this honorable mention, Running Away Quickly. It's an interesting title. And actually, I mean, after looking at this and looking at the title, it makes a bit sense. When I first saw the piece as a photograph, before seeing it in person, I thought it was maybe too busy. I tried to appreciate more simple compositions, but when I saw it in person, I changed my perception. So I saw the artist has remarkable control over transparency, on opacity, layering of color, creating depth and movement, lines, shapes, primary colors that it's difficult to put together in just a painting, but somehow it works well among all those busy elements. So what it felt for me a bit complicated in the first place, and a second look and see it in person, it becomes something very energetic. So it's kind of, the photograph was not allowing me to connect with the artist when I saw the photograph of the painting. And then when I saw it in person, I thought I was connecting with the artist somehow. So very beautiful and effective piece. The next one, honorable mention, is called Revelation, and it's a digital painting with acrylics, combined with acrylics. So it drew my attention immediately, also being quite different from the rest of the show. It's very mysterious and almost feels spiritual. And the composition is very well done. It has a strong sense of light, shadow, hierarchy of values, and that directs your attention to the central figure. But as you look more closely, you see other small elements at the bottom of the painting, like the snails, and I don't know, it has symbolic elements on it, that I guess for the artist has an interpretation, and also in this case you can read the comments in the website about this piece, and I think it's very interesting. But if you don't see the comments, it could give you two different interpretations from different viewers, right? The important thing is that it makes you think, reflect, is intriguing. It can lead to different lectures, okay, and a very atmospheric and suggestion of a narrative. So I think that was very original compared to many other pieces of the show, and I think it deserved this honorable mention. And let's go to the next one. We go to the awards here, and we got the third prize goes to Above and Below. It's a mixed media that immediately feels like a very successful abstract piece. You know, it books, it's abstract, but somehow it has some very tactile, real texture. It almost reminds me of a wood, a surface of wood, painted wood or something like that. And I think the contrast between the complementary colors, the blue and the orange, browns, transparent browns and blues, balance very well the organic texture with the lines, with the small blue pieces. I don't know, it's a composition that feels both natural and unique. And when you see it in person is much better. But anyway, so it's one of those pieces that you really see it, but it's difficult to explain why I connected so much with this one. I could explain about the arrangement of the composition, the darks and the lights, but somehow it feels very appealing to me. Let's go to the second prize. Red Hues in Nature. It's a small piece, very delicate. It says mixed media collage. I remember some paper, some transparencies there. It's a wonderful example of subtlety. Mainly working with variations of red and gray, but with a tiny touches of blue and yellow that makes the composition completely different. When you see it in person, you appreciate the transparency is much better, the transition in color. So there's a few, as you see, there's a few suggestions of leaves, but in general it's very abstract. And I think that the strength of this painting is simplicity, refinement, and very, I don't know, unique and balanced composition. Then the first prize of this category goes to South Philly's an acrylic and digital work. I think it's a fascinating blend of recognizable things, but at the same time imaginative. It's a neighborhood with houses, buildings, terraces, a figure, some chairs. But the artist has transformed this bold color choices and unreal and yeah, unreal shapes somehow. The colors are probably brighter than reality. The perspective is not real, but it's playful. And despite that, or maybe because of that, the whole scene becomes of a vibrant interpretation of a real place. No, it has a charm, like almost like an illustration of a story, and it shows the creativity of the artist, who rather than copying what we see, reimagining the whole thing in a way that it's very engaging, kind of whimsical, and very captivating. So congratulations to all these winners of this mixed media category. And now let's go to the sculpture and ceramics. In this category, when I saw the pieces in the photographs, I said, okay, I can say something about them, but really I need to see them in person even more than the paintings because they have 3 dimensions and you can see only 1 dimension here. So that's very true for some of the pieces. I will tell you which ones. And this one is is a piece that I don't know. It felt for me a bit humorous and intriguing. It's called No Winners, Rock, Paper, Scissors. So you can see the human hand, the different elements like the rock, the scissors, the paper, one on top of another, like I don't know, this contrast between the different textures and what we know about this game, let's say. It creates a playful and thought-provoking composition. Um, and the subtle choices of color and finishes of the different elements enhances the individuality of each form. At the same time, everything seems unified in a single compelling structure of this sculpture. Again, I invite you to see it in person. Then the following one is this terracotta um, portrait of a head. And here I see how this artist has emphasized the volume, the structure, and the expression in a very direct way. The texture is very rough, and you see also the pronounced wrinkles and the strong features. And I think it gives this piece a strong personality. And there's a power in there that caught my attention immediately. It feels very raw, emotional, very human. And that's what made it for me good for this honorable mention. Let's go to the prizes. So we have here the third prize. It's I think it's from the same artist, right? And the previous one. But it's different approach and it's good. Sometimes we have to explore different possibilities, and I think the artist did well also in the other one as well as in this one. It takes a completely different direction. The other one was more rough and expressive, and this piece is more elegant and minimal. It's all about clean angles, subtle planes, and the beauty of the material itself. In person, you can appreciate different textures of the back, of the front, or one side or another. I don't know if it's back or front, but what we see here is not the same as what you see in the back. And I think that just the simplicity of this makes you think about the beauty of the planes of the material itself, and that's what made it award for this third prize of this category. The next one is a small but very beautifully executed abstract, I would say abstract sculpture in alabaster. And it has like I don't know, like an architectural quality with thoughtful combination of sharp angles, rounded areas, smooth and rough surfaces. When you look at an abstract piece, I mean, it could represent something, but you're putting the emphasis on the beauty and the qualities of the material and how they shape the space in itself and around the sculpture itself, right? So the plate of light on the alabaster enhances the quality of the material and the natural beauty of the stone. It's a piece that balance the complexity with the simplicity in a very well way. And the first prize, it looks an interesting piece from the photograph, but much more when you see it in life, because the interplay of the curves, the structural elements, the lines, the shapes, with the negative space that you see in between them. Okay, so in a sculpture, it's three-dimensional, and the play of the negative and positive space is very important in pieces like this. Also, the combination of small, large parts, small and large parts, the lines, the almost geometrical shapes. It looks, I mean, from a representational point of view, it looks like almost like a boat to me. But in general, I see it more like an abstract piece, and it's very beautifully organized, very, very compelling sculpture. So congratulations to the winners of this category. And let's move now to the photographs. We have an honorable mention here, bipolar feeding. It's a digital photograph. It captures two butterflies feeding from a fruit or plant. I don't know exactly what is that. It's just a very unique moment to capture these three elements together, right? And they have such beautiful detail, texture, and color. It's something amazing to capture as a photograph, something so unusual that we normally don't observe so closely. It's a nice choice of composition finally, and a very attractive photograph to me. And the next honorable mention, it's a digital photograph, very different from the previous one in the sense that it's something that it's been arranged as a surreal composition. It shows a landscape, like a desert with remains of human presence. And in the middle, there is a glass cube, or, I mean, structure containing what looks like fresh air, in contrast with what's kind of a devastation around. And I don't know, for me, it feels like a representation of the contrast between what we as a society maybe are doing to the environment and what the natural world once was. And or maybe we try to preserve in some way. So I think the contrast and these two elements and the creation of this surreal image is what makes this piece very interesting and full of meaning. Then the third prize goes to this large piece called Pages Past 399. It's a large, very large digital photograph. It looks almost abstract. You see an old book with pages that that I don't know, somehow they have a very particular texture. Normally, that's something that you don't see in a book, okay? And there is in the bottom part a background with drips and textures underneath. All of it is almost monochromatic with subtle shifts of warm and cool grays. And I think, as in other works I mentioned before, sometimes just focusing on very simple things, very well executed, it makes you reflect on those qualities more than if we attempt a very difficult, complex subject. And I think that's the quality of this photograph, especially when you see it so large. And let's go to the second prize. Language in your eyes. So it's a collection of I would say, portraits of people. They seem from different parts of the world, maybe Asia, Africa, uh, places that from here, from the US, they look exotic. They don't look from here. So um, they you see these people, they appear to be working, thinking, smiling, having good time, some of them. You really feel the humanity in these expressions, the eyes, as the title suggests, the smiles, and probably they are not from wealthy countries, let's say, but you can see so much dignity and emotion and sometimes happiness in their faces. So it makes you think about that contrast with what we have mostly in our countries. And it's beautifully composed, every little photograph in black and white. It becomes a very powerful arrangement that speaks about who we are as humans in many places of the world. And finally, let's go to the first prize. It's titled Abandon. It's a very striking piece. It shows like a small piece of broken glass, but in reality, you see it enlarged. And next to a moth or an insect, probably died as well. I say as well because the piece of glass, it looks like broken and old, and probably that goes. It relates to the title of Abandon, and it makes you think about nature of things, pass of time, a contrast of man-made things that are transparent, looks like almost like a wing, that piece of glass compared to the wing of the insect. Um, so beautiful elements, textures, colors arranged in a way that invites you to think about the meaning, different meanings about this powerful photograph. So congratulations to all these award winners in the photograph category. And we just have the last one. It's the Best in Show. And the Best in Show is titled Contemplation. It's an oil painting by Holly Wooler. And as in you seen in other pieces, I try to tell you what stands out. Some of the pieces, they look very complete in the sense they handle composition, color, texture, but some of them they stand out maybe for one thing, and the rest are maybe not so strong. In this case, it's a very well composed piece, good proportions for a realistic image, subtle composition. But what drew my attention was the use of color. I think in painting, color is one of the most difficult things. Okay, drawing, if you are take your time and practice, you can measure things, you can nail proportions, and you can do perspective very well, even if you are not very creative, I would say. But there are some things like color that are very elusive, and this has been said. Many artists they said this. Um, uh, for example, mastering the values is very important. It's kind of the basis of a painting. But then the use of color, it's so difficult. And some artists like this one has approached that in a brave way because it's not a real representation of the color as you see it. It's difficult to get a photograph look like this. This looks like a painting because it has this quality of the color that you probably can only achieve by painting and interpreting the interpretation of the color that you see rather than copying the color that you see. And the result is it's something that looks real, but not in the way that you can look at a photograph and you say this is real. And the artist did it so well in the areas of light, the areas of shadow, of the skin, of the fabric, and just the choice of the color of the background. Um, so that was what made me think this is a very masterful piece in the use of color. It's astounding in that sense, and that's why I chose it the best in show. So congratulations to these artists and to all of them. Um, eh, as we finish with the awards and the honorable mentions, I just wanted to say that judging the show was really difficult because there are other pieces that probably could have deserved some of the awards too. It's very difficult to make this selection, and what I think we have to remind ourselves is that the most important thing is not to win the award, and also that other judges could have decided differently. It's the fact that we are, as individuals and artists, are creating art, and the feelings, emotions that we put into it, they are worth any award. We do this selection of awards for the competition, and I think it's fun and I think it's a good thing, but we have to be all proud of our paintings and think of they are the most important thing in themselves as experience for us as artists rather than getting an award from an exhibition.
Thank you. Thank you again, Gonzalo. And personally, I learned so much just listening to your comments about your award choices. It's fantastic. And thank you, Rockville Art League members, for being part of the show and for watching our presentation. And anything else from anyone? No?
Thank you so much. Everyone will be thrilled to watch this, and it was very educational. And I can't stress enough for everyone to see the work in person. As you had said, seeing the work in person is very important. So, yeah.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording, and thank you again, Gonzalo.
Thank you.